It's Goldman Diaries. She said it was just a family dinner, and there was no need for me to be there. And right then, I realized I was no longer part of her life. I wasn't kicked out. I was erased. Quietly. Politely. Like something inconvenient you just put away. The same woman who once held my hand through every storm now couldn't find space for me at her mother's table. That's when I knew it was over. But that was also the moment my new life began. She said it with that voice people use when they're pretending to care. Hey, so, just wanted to let you know we're doing a small dinner for Mom's birthday next Saturday. My heart had already started sinking. I knew what was coming. I just didn't expect it to sting this much. It's just family. You know how she is. She paused, like she was waiting for me to make it easier. To say, it's okay. I get it. But I didn't. So she kept going. It might be better if you don't come. Just to keep things simple. Simple. That's what I was now. An inconvenience. A variable she didn't want to explain to her relatives over cake. The same woman who once held my hand through every storm now couldn't find the space for me at her mother's dinner table. I hung up before I said something stupid. Not because I wanted to be polite. Because I didn't trust myself to keep the pain out of my voice. I stared at the phone screen for a long time. I could still see her name glowing. The name of the woman I used to call home. Now, she was just another person making sure I remembered what I'd become. Unemployed. Alone. I used to be. The worst part? I got it. I understood why she didn't want me there. I had nothing to show for myself. 6 months ago, I was a department lead at a stable company. Then came the layoffs. Then came the "we're not hiring at your level" emails. Then came the credit card debts, the awkward dinners, the guilt in her eyes, and the slow fade of respect in her voice. She kept working long hours in retail. Her family covered our mortgage temporarily. But temporary turned into monthly. And month by month, I stopped being her partner. I became her burden. The moment that phone call ended, I realized something. I wasn't just uninvited from a birthday dinner. I'd been quietly erased from her life. She'd made the decision already. She just didn't want to say it out loud. But I heard it. And that's when something in me snapped, not in anger. In resolve. You can lose your job. You can lose your house. You can even lose the woman you love. But the moment you lose your dignity, that's when you either stay down forever, or you rebuild yourself into something they can never touch again. That night, I took out an old notebook and wrote 3 words at the top of the page. Start. From. 0. Because if they were going to treat me like I was nothing, I'd show them what nothing can become. They uninvited me from her mother's house. So I started building the kind of house they'd never be invited to. And that plan, it started the very next morning. I remember the first time I saw the shift in her eyes. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hate. It was worse. Pity. She came home late from work. Her uniform was wrinkled, her shoulders slumped, hair pulled back with no energy to fix it. She dropped her bag by the door and walked straight to the kitchen without a word. I was sitting in the same chair I sat in the day before. Laptop open. Resumes sent. 0 replies. She looked at me. Not with blame, but with quiet, exhausted disappointment. Like she'd been hoping that maybe, just maybe, today would be different. It wasn't. I said, I applied to 4 more. She nodded, poured herself water, didn't say anything. And right there, in that silence, I felt smaller than I ever had in my life. Her family noticed it before she did. Her mother used to call every week. Now, every other day. How are you, honey? Eating enough? Still the only one working, huh? They always made sure to say it lightly, like a joke. But every word was a stone in my gut. At dinner one Sunday, her brother passed me the salad and laughed. Careful. Don't strain yourself. He meant it. They all did. And she didn't defend me. She didn't even meet my eyes. One night, I overheard her on the phone in the bedroom. No, I can't talk now. He's here. He. Not my husband. Not Michael. Just he. Like I was a roommate who overstayed his lease. I laid on the couch that night staring at the ceiling, heart pounding like a drum. I wanted to shake her and scream. Do you think I want this? Do you think I like waking up every day feeling like I've failed you? But I didn't. Because part of me knew she had the right to feel what she felt. She didn't marry a man to carry him. and I hated myself for giving them reasons to doubt me. Then came the mortgage email. We were 2 weeks behind. Her father transferred the money. In the notes section, for Emily, not for him. My name wasn't even worth typing. I walked outside. It was cold. Didn't bother with a coat. Just sat on the steps and stared at the dark street. I thought about all the times I promised her a future. All the times she believed in me when we were just two kids with nothing but dreams. And now? She worked double shifts. Her family paid for our roof. And I was nothing but a problem she didn't know how to solve anymore. That's when I said it out loud, teeth clenched so hard my jaw hurt. You either stay this version of yourself, or you burn it all down and start again. I didn't sleep that night. At 5:42 a.m., I found his number. Old friend. Crazy idea. Something about a startup, months ago. I typed just one line. You still looking for a partner? I had no money. No pride left. Just one thing in my pocket. Desperation. And sometimes, that's all you need to light a fuse. His name was Marcus. We hadn't spoken in almost a year. Last I heard, he was trying to launch some kind of logistics tech startup, something about warehouse coordination, predictive routing, AI optimization. I barely understood half of it. What I didn't understand, he was obsessed, driven in a way that most people find annoying until it works. I stared at his contact photo for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen like it weighed 50 pounds. You still looking for a partner? I had sinned, regretted it instantly. What was I thinking? I had nothing. No savings, no status, not even confidence. Just a bruised ego and a failing marriage. He replied in under 5 minutes. Meet me at 10. My office. 3rd floor above the vape shop. That was it. No explanation. No questions. Just the address. The office was a disaster. Broken elevator, graffiti in the stairwell, and the smell of weed wafting from the vape shop below. I almost turned around. Almost. But then I saw him, Marcus, standing by a whiteboard, scribbling numbers, talking to himself, 2 phones in his hand like some mad scientist who forgot to sleep for a week. He looked up. Mike? I nodded. He smiled. Thought you died or moved to Nebraska. I laughed. Barely. He tossed me a cold energy drink. You serious about working? I didn't even sit down. I have nothing else left. That's serious enough. He didn't give me a title. He gave me tasks. Call this list. Build a spreadsheet. Follow up with a supplier in Ohio. Learn what last mile tracking means by Monday. I was back in the trenches. Back in motion. And something strange started happening. I felt awake. Not proud. Not accomplished. But awake. The days blurred. Early mornings, late nights, bad coffee, cheap ramen, phone calls that went nowhere. But for the first time in months, I wasn't staring at a blank job board. I was building something, even if I had no clue what. And Marcus? He didn't care about my resume. He cared about fire. I need people who don't stop when it sucks. You in? I was. Week 3, we landed our first small contract, a pilot program with a regional retailer. We were nobodies, but our offer was so cheap and our hustle so loud, they gave us a shot. It was chaos. We had one functioning laptop between us. Marcus's girlfriend was printing invoices on a borrowed printer from her dorm. Our client calls were done in the hallway with a curtain behind us to fake a conference room. But when that first payment hit our account, $3,200, I stared at the screen like I'd just seen my first sunrise. It wasn't the money. It was proof. Proof that I wasn't broken. That I could still fight. That maybe, just maybe, I wasn't finished. At night, I still went back to the same couch. Same cold silence in the apartment. Emily barely asked where I went anymore. Once, she looked at me and said, "You really think this thing's going to work?" I didn't answer. Because in my gut, I felt it. Something was shifting. Maybe not in the world, but in me. 2 months later, we closed our first real deal. A national chain. 7 figures. I walked out of that boardroom in a $40 dress shirt, sweating through the collar, but smiling like a king. That night, I didn't go home. I booked a hotel room. Alone. And made a list of everything they said I couldn't do. At the top of that list, become the man she regrets leaving. And that list was just getting started. I moved out quietly. No argument. No announcement. Just folded my clothes, grabbed my laptop, and left the keys on the table. She was at work. I didn't leave a note. There was nothing left to explain. The man she married was gone, and the man I was becoming didn't owe anyone an apology. My new place wasn't fancy yet. Small loft. Bare walls. But it was mine. No tension in the air. No stares. No reminders that I had failed. Just peace. And purpose. I bought my first real suit with the second paycheck. It wasn't tailored. The sleeves were a little long. But when I looked in the mirror, something clicked. Not the fabric. The man wearing it. For the first time in a long time, I didn't look like someone surviving. I looked like someone building. Marcus and I kept pushing. We weren't sleeping much. But the contracts kept coming. He handled the pitch rooms. I handled the follow-ups, the back end, the fire drills. People started remembering my name. We hired our first 2 interns. Then a part-time accountant. Then an office assistant. The hallway curtain was replaced by glass walls. The broken chairs gone. There were days I'd catch myself walking into our new office building and smiling like an idiot. Like I couldn't believe this was my life now. But I believed it. Because I earned every second of it. And then fate decided to make it interesting. I was leaving a meeting downtown, suit jacket slung over my shoulder, phone buzzing with new contracts. And she walked right past me. Emily. Same woman. Same face. But now she was the one walking with her head down. She didn't see me at first. Then she stopped. Froze. Turned. Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. Michael. I nodded. Wow. You look. I waited. Calm. Silent. Different. I smiled. I am. She started to say something else. But I didn't let her. I just said, take care of yourself. And walked away. No anger. No bitterness. Just peace. That moment stayed with me longer than I expected. Not because I still loved her, but because I finally felt free. The weight, the shame, the need for her approval, it was all gone. She chose to let go when I was at my lowest. And now? I was rising. 2 weeks later, we got invited to an industry gala. Big players. Media coverage. Sponsorship deals on the line. Marcus pulled up in a rented black car, looking like a Silicon Valley CEO. I stepped out in a tailored navy suit, cufflinks, watch, clean cut. Photographers were there. Lights, noise. And somewhere deep in the crowd, I saw her again. Emily. She was with a friend. Just a guest. She didn't see me this time. But I saw her. Watching. Not with pity. With something colder. Regret. That night, a reporter pulled me aside. You're one of the fastest rising founders this year. What drives you? I didn't even think. A memory, I said, of being invisible. And the funny thing? Now I couldn't hide if I tried. Next week, I'd be closing on something big. Very big. And none of them, not her, not her family, had a clue what was coming. I didn't plan it. Not at first. But success has a way of circling back to where you once failed. We were reviewing our expansion options. Marcus said we needed a distribution site west of the city. The map opened. My eyes locked on the neighborhood. And there it was. Our old street. The one I used to walk down with grocery bags, praying the card wouldn't decline. The one where I watched her drive off to work while I stayed behind, ashamed. I zoomed in. A cluster of homes. One lot up for sale. Guess which one? The house. Our house. The one we nearly lost. The one her parents helped save, just to make sure I remembered who held the power. Now? It was in pre-foreclosure. Too many missed payments. Guess the handouts finally ran out. I didn't hesitate. Called my lawyer the same day. Buy it. Quietly. Full cash offer. I don't want my name on anything until it's done. It was symbolic, sure, but also practical. Location was perfect for a West Side office hub. Still, that wasn't why I did it. I did it because I needed to look my past in the eye and own it. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of the place. The paint was fading. Grass overgrown. Curtains drawn tight like the house didn't want to see the world anymore. I remembered fixing that fence by hand. Painting the porch together. Burning eggs on Sunday mornings in that tiny kitchen. I remembered fighting in the hallway. Her tears. My silence. I remembered how I felt when I left. like a ghost walking away from his own funeral. No? I had the keys. I didn't even go inside. Just handed the plans to our site team and walked away. Her mother called me a few days later. Guess she figured it out. Michael? Is it true? Did you buy the house? I said nothing. That home was part of our family. Emily grew up there. Still nothing. Why would you do that? I finally answered. Because I could. She didn't like that. But she understood it. Emily texted that night. You bought it. Why? Are you okay? I stared at the messages. It was almost funny. Months of silence, and now I was interesting again. I didn't reply. Not because I was being petty. Because I knew she didn't really want to talk. She wanted to feel close to something successful. She wasn't asking about me. She was asking about what I had. Marcus laughed when I told him. Cold move, man. I just shrugged. It wasn't about revenge. It was about balance. I wasn't looking to hurt anyone, but I wasn't going to hide anymore either. They made their choice. Now I was making mine. The house was just the beginning. The next opportunity came wrapped in a velvet envelope. A formal event. Industry leaders. Charity gala. And guess who was hosting it? Emily's father. His company was sponsoring the whole thing. And now, they were inviting me as an honored guest. Funny how tables turn. I RSVP'd yes. Not to attend. To arrive. The invitation was thick, expensive, and gold-trimmed. Even the envelope smelled like power. Inside, printed in bold serif font. Westbridge Business Philanthropy Gala. Hosted by Emerson and Carter Group. Guest of honor, Michael Warren. That was me. Guess who Emerson is? Her father. The same man who once looked me in the eye and said, "A man who can't provide doesn't belong in a family." I still remember every syllable. Now, he was hosting an event with my name in the program. The gala was in a luxury hotel ballroom. Chandeliers, violins, for $100 wine glasses. Marcus and I arrived just past 8. He went straight for the open bar. I didn't drink. I just scanned the room slowly, like a chess player walking onto a familiar board. They were all there. Emily's brother, her cousins, her mother, and then, across the room, near the floral arch, her. Emily. She hadn't changed much. Still elegant. Still poised. But something in her face was uncertain. Like she'd heard rumors, but couldn't quite believe them. And now she had to see it with her own eyes. Her father was mid-speech when he finally looked at me from the stage. His smile faltered. He recovered quickly. But I saw it. That flicker. That recognition. That regret. After the speech, he made his way over. Smiling. Hand out. Michael, I've heard a lot about what you're building. Impressive stuff. I shook his hand. Firm. Dry. No warmth. Thank you. And thank you for the invitation. He nodded, tried to lead the conversation. I didn't follow. I let silence do the heavy lifting. He talked. I listened. Because real power doesn't need to shout. It just exists. And in that moment, I could feel it. The room had shifted. I wasn't the outsider anymore. I was the one they couldn't afford to ignore. Emily approached me later. Alone. You look incredible. I nodded. Quiet. I saw your name on the program and I didn't believe it was you. I smiled. Why not? She hesitated. I guess I just never thought you'd become this. I looked at her. Not with bitterness. But like a stranger you once passed on the street. Neither did you. She asked if I wanted to talk somewhere quieter. I declined. Not because I was angry. Because I didn't need closure. I already had it. That's the thing people don't realize. Sometimes, when they walk away from you, they're not hurting you. They're freeing you. As the night ended, photographers circled. I posed with donors, execs, even a city councilwoman. Flash after flash. Smile after smile. And across the room, Emily stood alone. Watching. Not speaking. Just watching. The next morning, she texted. Can we talk? I've been thinking about everything. Maybe we made a mistake. I stared at the message. And before I could even answer, someone else reached for my phone. A hand I now woke up next to. Everything okay? She asked, still half asleep. I smiled. Yeah, I said. Just deleting the past. The first message was short. Hey, that night at the gala, you looked amazing. Really. Proud of you. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another one. I've been thinking about everything. About us. Can we talk sometime? Still nothing from me. She tried a third time. Longer this time. I know I wasn't fair. I let fear and pressure get in the way. You didn't deserve that. I see now how much strength it took for you to keep going. I miss you. I really do. There was a time when I would have read those words with tears in my eyes, begging for another chance, grateful for any scrap of affection. But that man, the one who needed her validation to feel like a man, he was gone. Now, I read her message like I was reviewing an application. And honestly, she didn't qualify anymore. Still, I agreed to meet. Not because I wanted to get back together, but because I needed to face the version of her I used to need. We chose a quiet cafe. Afternoon. She showed up early. That was new. Nervous smile. Soft voice. You look even better than I remembered. I thanked her. She started talking fast. All the things she'd rehearsed in the mirror. I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was scared. My parents were in my ear. I was working crazy hours. I thought you were giving up. I nodded slowly. And then when I saw you that night, I just kept thinking, that should have been us. That could still be us. She reached for my hand. I didn't move. I just asked, would you have said any of this if I was still on that couch? Silence. Her eyes dropped. I don't know. Exactly. That's what people don't tell you about reconnection. It's not about love. It's about timing. And when someone only wants you after you've made it, that's not love. That's proximity to success. I leaned back and said it gently. No anger. No drama. You made the right decision back then. Her brows furrowed. Because if you hadn't left me, I wouldn't be who I am now. She blinked, swallowed, tried to smile through it. So that's it. I nodded. That's it. I left before she could cry. Not because I didn't care. Because I knew that letting her cry in front of me would be worse than any revenge. It would feel like permission. And I wasn't offering that. That night, I walked through my new home. A real home. High ceilings. Open space. Quiet. Not the silence of failure. The silence of arrival. She was no longer in it. And that was okay. Because someone else was. Someone who saw the version of me with nothing and still said, I see you. I believe in you. The next morning, I got a letter. Handwritten. Slanted cursive. Expensive envelope. From her father. Inside. Let's meet. There's something we need to discuss. Man to man. I smiled. Funny how quickly tables turn. And I was about to flip the whole damn table over. The restaurant he picked was upscale. Classic. The kind of place where people lower their voices and talk about things that never leave the room. He was already seated when I walked in. Dark suit. Perfect tie. Same self-assured face I remembered. The one that once looked at me like I was dirt beneath his daughter's shoes. This time, his handshake lingered a second longer. His smile, a little too careful. Michael, thank you for coming. You asked? I'm here. He ordered wine. I declined. I didn't want to drink. I wanted clarity. I'll get straight to it, he said, leaning in. You built something remarkable. The whole industry's talking about your company. Your name. I stayed quiet. Let him fill the silence. And I think there's potential for us to work together. My firm is expanding into logistics, and your infrastructure could fill some gaps. He sipped, measured. It could be mutually beneficial. I waited a beat, then said, You remember what you said to me the day I lost my job? He blinked, didn't answer. So I helped him out. A man who can't provide doesn't belong in a family. His throat moved. That was a different time. I nodded. It was. And back then, you were right. I couldn't provide. He looked relieved too soon. Then I added, But now I can buy the family dinner. The house. The name on the building. Everything. His smile faded. Michael, this isn't personal. It's business. It was personal when you used your money to humiliate me. Now it's just math. He tried one more time. Look, we don't have to rehash the past. Let's talk about the future. You're a smart man. I'm offering opportunity. Respect. Even redemption. Redemption. That word. Like I was the one who needed forgiving. I leaned forward. Calm. Slow. I've already been redeemed. You just weren't there to see it. We didn't shake hands when I left. I didn't storm out. I just stood, buttoned my jacket, and said, You wanted a seat at my table. I understand that. But this table? It's full. Then I walked out straight, steady, while he sat in silence. I stepped into the street, phone buzzing in my pocket. New contract. New deal. New level. It hit me in that moment. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Not to him. Not to her. Not to the past. They would all watch from the outside now. The next morning, I got a call from my assistant. You won't believe who's at the office. I paused. Emily. She's in the lobby. Says she needs 5 minutes. I looked out my window. Downtown skyline. My name on the building across the street. And I said, tell her 5 minutes is all she'll get. Because this time, I wasn't walking in as her husband. I was walking in as the man she let go. 5 minutes. That's what I told my assistant. And that's all she was going to get. Emily sat on the leather couch in the lobby. She stood when I walked in, a little too quickly, like her body moved before her pride could stop it. She looked different. Not worse. Just smaller. Like the weight of everything finally caught up to her. Thank you for seeing me. You asked? I'm here. I said it with the same words her father used. But my tone didn't carry judgment. Just fact. She followed me into a small meeting room. No windows. No audience. Just us. The beginning and end of an entire chapter. I know I don't deserve anything from you, she started, voice trembling just enough to feel real. But I needed to say some things. I waited. Let her carry the weight. I was wrong. Not just about leaving, but about who you were. I let people tell me you weren't enough, and I started to believe it. But you were fighting the whole time. I see that now. She looked down at the table. I didn't fight for you. I gave up. And you didn't. I stayed quiet. Because the silence was saying everything she didn't want to hear. I don't expect anything. Not a second chance. I wanted you to know I still think about what we lost. What I lost. She finally looked up. Eyes glossy. But she didn't cry. You became the man I always hoped you'd be. That line. That's the one that hit. Because I wanted to say. No. I became the man you never believed I could be. But I didn't. I just nodded. I don't hate you, Emily. She exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for a year. But we're not the same people anymore. She nodded slowly. She's lucky. She believed in me when I had nothing. Another silence. A different kind. As she stood to leave, I handed her something. A small envelope. She looked confused. What's this? A reservation. For what? A hotel room. One night. The same room where I slept the day after our divorce. She froze. Why would you? Closure. You gave up on me in silence. I'm giving you the same. She didn't speak again. Just took the envelope. Walked out. Didn't look back. And I didn't follow. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do isn't getting revenge. It's not giving them the satisfaction of your pain. That night, I sat on the balcony of my home. Wine untouched, city lights below me, the silence loud and peaceful. And I realized. I wasn't chasing anything anymore. Not her love. Not their approval. Not even recognition. I'd become a man I respected. And that was enough. A week later, I got a text. You coming to the family brunch tomorrow? It was from her cousin. I laughed. Sure. I wrote back. I own the restaurant. The brunch was at a modern rooftop restaurant downtown. Trendy. Expensive. Polished like a diamond someone paid too much for. They didn't know I owned it. Not until they walked in. Her cousin blinked at the plaque near the entrance. Warren Group Hospitality. Emily's last name was Warren. But I was the only Warren in that building. They gathered around the long glass table, cousins, uncles, the same people who once pitted me in silence. Now they smiled too hard. Too polite. Too cautious. Emily arrived last. I scanning the room. When she saw me already seated at the head of the table, calm, relaxed, espresso in hand, she froze for just a second. Only I noticed. That was enough. Her mother said it first. Michael, this place is beautiful. We had no idea you were involved. I'm not involved. They blinked. I own it. Silence. Forks paused midair. I started. I didn't need applause. Didn't want it. I just let the words settle like quiet thunder. Emily took the seat across from me. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. The air between us was full of all the things that had already been said or never would be. Her father arrived late. He gave me a nod. That was all. Once, that nod would have meant approval. Now, it was acknowledgement. I didn't stay long, just long enough. Long enough to be seen, to be felt, to remind them, without saying a word, that I'd survived everything they thought would break me. And I didn't just survive. I thrived. As I stood to leave, Emily rose too. Michael, wait. I paused. She walked over slowly. You really own all this? This. I smiled. This is just one of 7. She swallowed hard. You're really happy, aren't you? I looked her in the eyes. I'm free. And that was better than happy. Outside, my car waited. Not a rented one. Not a showpiece. Just a quiet black sedan. Clean. Sharp. Understated, like me. The driver opened the door. I turned to look one last time at the skyline, the city, the world I'd rebuilt from the ashes. And I thought, they all left me when I had nothing. But thank God they did. Because without that, I never would have become everything I am now. In the backseat, my phone buzzed. Marcus. We got confirmation. Tokyo deal's closed. We're global now, brother. I smiled. Rolled down the window. Let the wind hit my face. They laughed behind my back. They left when it got hard. They called me a failure. And now? They order from my menu. The difference between who I was and who I became? I didn't need revenge. I just needed time. This isn't a story about success. It's about how greatness doesn't always come from winning. Sometimes it's born from hitting rock bottom. Was there a moment that changed your life? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe, more untold stories are on the way.